We are doing oxidation reduction. We are going to use an apple demonstration to explain how oxidation reduction works.
We tested different ways to remove oxygen from air to see what effects it had on apple slices. When an apple is cut, oxygen is introduced into the plant's tissues. When oxygen is present in the cells, enzymes in the chloroplast rapidly oxidize. Compounds naturally present in the apple's tissues turn from colorless to brown. We left each apple for 12 hours.
Oxidation is the reaction when atoms or ions of an element attain a more positive oxidation state. It is the loss of electrons. On the left is an apple before it was oxidized. On the right is an apple we left out for 12 hours. Reduction is a reaction when atoms or ions of an element attain a more negative state. It is the gain of electrons.
By burning a candle, inside the dome the oxygen will be used up, and once the oxygen is used up, the candle will go out. This should remove all the oxygen from the dome and stop the apple from oxidizing. The baking soda and vinegar will create CO2. This CO2 will fill up the dome, pushing the oxygen and other gases out. The vacuum should remove all the air from the dome.
From least oxidized to most oxidized, it goes the apple sliced in the vacuum, the one when burning a candle, the one with baking soda and vinegar, and the control, which we just left in air. The one that was in the vacuum was least oxidized because there was no air in there. These two somewhat oxidized because all the oxygen wasn't removed, and this one completely oxidized because it was left out.
Oxidation reduction reaction is any chemical process in which elements undergo a change in oxidation state. Oil rig stands for oxidation is loss, reduction is gain.
The rules for assigning oxidation numbers.
Atoms in a pure element have an oxidation number of 0.
The more electronegative element in a binary compound is assigned the number equal to the negative charge it would have as an anion. The less electronegative atom is assigned the number equal to the charge it would have as a cation.
Fluorine always has an oxidation number of -1.
Oxygen has an oxidation number of -2 except when in peroxides a -1 and in compounds with fluorine a +2.
Hydrogen has oxidation number of +1 when bonded to more electronegative element, -1 when bonded with metals.
The sum of the oxidation numbers in a neutral compound is 0, and the sum is equal to the charge of an ion for a polyatomic ion. The combustion of a metallic sodium in an atmosphere of chlorine shows oxidation process. In this reaction, sodium loses an electron and becomes a sodium ion. The oxidation state changed from 0 to a more positive 1+ state of the ion. The sodium atom is said to be oxidized to the sodium ion. This change in oxidation is indicated by the oxidation number placed above the symbol of the atom to the ion.
Another example of an oxidation process occurs when hydrogen burns in chlorine to form molecular HCl. Rule number 1 states the oxidation state of each hydrogen still in the hydrogen molecule is 0. By rule number 5, the oxidation state of the combined hydrogen in the HCl molecule is hydrogen, because of the hydrogen atom changes from a 0 to a +1.
An example of a reduction reaction is the behavior of chlorine with sodium and hydrogen. With sodium, each chlorine atom acquired an electron and becomes a chlorine ion. The oxidation state changes from a 0 to a -1 because it is reduced. Another example is hydrogen and chlorine. Chlorine is being oxidized in the HCl solution and hydrogen is a +1, while chlorine is a -1 oxidation state.
An oxidizing agent is an agent that accepts the donated electrons. A reducing agent is an agent that donates electrons. These are the key terms in the chapter.
For our first reaction, we are going to combine solid zinc and copper sulfate.
We are going to combine copper sulfate solution with solid zinc. This is an example of an oxidation reduction process. Zinc replaces copper. Zinc is the active reducing agent and displaces the copper ions from the solution. Copper is the oxidizing agent, and metallic copper is a precipitate.
We are going to add copper sulfate solution and zinc solid. We have formed zinc sulfate solution and copper.
Zinc is being oxidized because it goes from a 0 oxidation number to a +2, and Cu is being reduced because it's going from a +2 to a 0. The results of this reaction is the formation of copper and zinc sulfate. You can tell a reaction has occurred because the color of the liquid has changed from blue to white or clear.
For our second demo, we are going to combine iron and sulfuric acid.
We are going to put solid iron in diluted liquid sulfuric acid. It produces hydrogen gas and iron sulfate. The iron is being oxidized and the sulfuric acid is being reduced. The bubbles are the hydrogen gas escaping from the solution.
We are combining sulfuric acid and iron. We have formed iron sulfate and hydrogen gas.
Iron is oxidized in this reaction because it goes from a 0 oxidation number to a +2, and hydrogen is reduced because it goes from a +2 to a 0 oxidation number.
The results in the formation of hydrogen gas and iron sulfate. You can see a reaction has occurred because the bubbles fill the tube. The bubbles are the hydrogen gas escaping from the solution.
We are going to hand out our key term quiz.
Answers.
Now we are going to go over the answers to the key term quiz. For the first one, reactions in which atoms or ions of an element attain a more positive oxidation state. The answer to this one is C, oxidation.
Oxidation is loss, reduction is gain.
For number 2, reactions in which elements or ions for an element attain a more negative oxidation state is E, reduction.
Any chemical process in which elements undergo a change in oxidation numbers is A, an oxidation reduction reaction.
4, agent that donates electrons is B, reducing agent.
An agent that accepts the donated electrons is F.
Half reaction that involves the gain of electrons. 6 is D, the reduction reaction.
7 signifies the number of charges the atom would have in a molecule if electrons were transferred completely. This one is G, oxidation number.
And then what does oil rig stand for? is loss, and reduction is gain.
What are 3 ways oxygen was removed in the lesson? From our apple demo, it could be removed from a vacuum, the candle, the CO2, and the vinegar.
And that is the end of our lesson.